Hello everyone, and welcome to my weekly Wednesday chat. I'm super excited to be here, and I would love for you to tell me in the comments if you found the countdown timer helpful. I have started using a countdown timer so that you know you're in the right place, and so that you know how many minutes we have before I actually go live. And so, hello, Shalini. It's wonderful to see you. And then Cheryl, I can see that Cheryl is here. And we also had a few other people jump on. I saw, tell me in the comments, was the music playing? So last week I was trying the same countdown timer, but I couldn't get the music to work. And so I'm super excited that this week I got the music to work. Hello, Janelle. It's lovely to see you. And so I'm going to jump into today's content right away because there are already a bunch of you on, and I'm so excited that you're joining me live. And of course, if you end up watching the replay, you are very welcome here too. And so hello, Barb, and hello, Kathy. And Shalina says, I love the timer. And she said, I love the timer. This is awesome. Thank you for adding. Tell me in the comments if it's helpful. Love the timer. Do I have enough time to make a cup of tea before you start? Yes. And so, right, you can make a cup of tea in 5 minutes, right? And so tell me where you're tuning in from. So Judy is here from West British Columbia. Welcome, Judy. It's great to see you. And Valerie says that the timer is great, fantastic. I appreciate that. And hello, Sweeby. And then Kathy Marshall said, yes, the music played, which is fantastic. So that is wonderful. I'm so excited. And then hello, Patricia. It's wonderful to see you here as well. And so tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from so that I can see where everybody's from. Patricia's here from Utah, which is fantastic. And I can see that Gail is here from Oklahoma City. And hello, Cheryl. Cheryl came on right at the beginning of the countdown timer, so that's awesome. She's here from Raleigh, North Carolina. We've also got Roanne from Madison, Wisconsin. So Kathy's in Central Illinois. Fantastic. And hello, Jennifer Gilbert. It's wonderful to see you. She's in Colorado. And I know that you watch my YouTube videos a lot, but I don't know if you make it live so often. And so it's lovely to see you here. And then we have Geraldine from Kennebunk, Maine. Yeah, could be quite cold up there. I bet it's quite cold. Hi, Janet. It's great to see you. And Roberta's here from Seattle, and Janet Coleman says that it's finally sunny in Northeast Ohio. I love it. And so I'm just on for a half an hour, right? I'm just on for a half an hour. And so Sweeby said, am I on for a half an hour or so? Yes, usually only about 20 minutes. I try to keep these really short and sweet. And so I'm going to jump right in. And hello, Jennifer. Hello, Virginia. Virginia Howard, it's wonderful for you to be here. So without further ado, let's get into today's content. And so I want you to tell me in the comments if you have ever either had your own retail store, maybe in the past, or have you ever worked in a retail store? Tell me in the comments if you've ever worked in a retail store or if you've ever owned one. You might own one now, or you might have owned one in the past. So I'd love for you to answer that question in the comments while I dive into today's topic. And so today's topic is yet another way for you to get your artwork out into the world. And owning your own retail store is a really great way to do this. And of course, all of the options I've been talking about for the last several weeks, or the last month or so, they have pros and cons, of course. And so that's my question for us to get started. And so Cheryl said that she's worked in one. Vani said yes to both. She's both had her own store and she's worked in one. And then Valerie said that she's watching from Kangaroo Island off the coast of South Australia. Wow, Valerie, it's so lovely to see you here. Then Geraldine said she's worked for many years in an art supply store. Yep, an art supply store. Shalini said she's just worked in one. And then Tammy said that she had a small space in an antique store. Excellent. I love that. And then You were a partner in a craft gallery. That's fantastic. And Gayla said that a zillion years ago, a department store and a store in a crafter's mall. Fantastic, fantastic. And then Virginia said that she's worked in retail, but she's never owned one. But your daughter has a brick and mortar store in Maui. So Virginia Howard, I'm going to be in Maui in about I'm going to be in Maui in the second week of April. So Virginia Howard, you have to email me and tell me where your daughter's brick and mortar store is in Maui. So if I have a chance, I'll go say hi to her. I'm going to be over there with my dad. So anyway, it's totally awesome that, and so Roberta said, my parents had a t-shirt shop back in the 80s. And that you learned all about running a business there during your high school years. Yeah. So working in and then Judy said, nope, she's never worked in a retail store. And that's okay, right? That's okay. But I think that the thing that is really important about this whole idea of having your own retail store is that there's many, many ways to do it that will reduce the overall cost to you and or ensure that you are actually making enough money in the store with what you're selling so that you can make a profit, right? Because there are definitely some pros and cons to everything. So one of the things I also wanted to make sure that you guys know, and I'm figuring out how to do some of these cool new graphics on screen, I want to make sure, tell me in the comments if you have downloaded this, my ebook. Have you downloaded, tell me in the comments, yes or no, have you downloaded the Craft a Career You Love in Surface Design? Have you actually downloaded this ebook? And the reason that I'm asking you is because it's 28 pages and it contains a little introduction from me. Then we talk about what surface pattern design actually is. And then I go into 7 different big categories where you can get your artwork out into the world and where you can either make a little bit of money or a lot of money. And we've covered a lot of these topics already, indirect selling and licensing and direct selling and teaching. And so if you've missed any of these, you can rewatch the videos here on my Facebook page, or you can pop over to my website and read them there. But you can also read all about them in this ebook by downloading the ebook. And so we basically are on this page. So for the next 3 weeks, these are the topics we're going to talk about. We're talking about retail stores today, and then we're going to talk about subscriptions and commissions in the next couple of weeks. And you'll notice it's 28 pages. I don't know if you can actually see this on screen. I'm curious, can you actually, so you can, I don't know if you can see this that I'm pointing at down here, but it's 28 pages. So it's very, very valuable. And you can download it by going to, and then basically I go into describing what each one is, and then I give you several examples of students who are doing it, who are, making money that particular way. So here, let me move it back over here. And let me come back here where I take it off screen. And so the good thing for you guys to know is, and I will put this in the comments right now, is that you can get it at members.artwithann.com/ebook. And it's totally free, and I can see in the comments that some of you have already downloaded it, which is wonderful. And but for those of you who haven't, so Patricia said not yet, and Valerie said not yet, and so Judy said, where do I find it? And so I put it in the comments. So if you look at the comments either on your phone or wherever you're watching right now, it's members.artwithann.com/ebook. But there's a link there. And Joanne said that I worked for 7 years at a fabulous bookstore. I did the newsletter and lots of posters for author visits and other events. Super fun, right? Super fun. And so Patricia hasn't downloaded the book and Valerie hasn't either, but that's okay. You guys absolutely can. And so here is the URL, right? So this is the URL that you want to type into. You can just click on it. It should be clickable. And Pauline, I know you're watching, my wonderful community manager, Pauline Riley, who's coming to us from Wales. She's in Wales in the UK. Let me know if that's clickable. If you click on that, does it actually take you right to where you can opt in to get the book? So it's members.artwithann.com/ebook. So I highly encourage you guys to get it, especially if you're watching live for the first time, because I've covered a lot of material over the course of the past month or so, and you can get all caught up. You can get all caught up. And so thank you, Janelle, for saying that it's beautiful, fantastic. It is. It's really, really great. It's a wonderful, wonderful value. So today we're talking about retail stores. So there are three big things that I want to talk about regarding retail stores and why retail stores is definitely something that you should consider, because the first thing is you don't necessarily have to own your own retail store. You could, for example, go in with several of your friends in your local community who also have similar interests to you. And so you could actually rent a retail store space and you could divide it up into different sections. Right? And so I think that is one of the ways you need to think about a retail store is how can you create a multi-use space? So tell me in the comments, when I say multi-use, what comes to mind for you? Tell me in the comments when I use the words it's a multi-use space. Now what that means to me, and then tell me as you think about it what it means to you in the comments. What that means to me is that you could have a retail store, and in the front portion of the store, you could be selling all of your artwork. You could sell it on fabric in what's called fat quarters, which is a very typical size that people will purchase to use in a quilt. And they'll buy a whole bunch of coordinated patterns to then put into a quilt, for example. You could also have, your physical products, whether that's your notebooks or your stationery or your greeting cards or your real, the artwork that you've created that's like on the walls, copies of what you've created that might be in your studio and that you're prepared to sell. But you also could have a section in the back where you do paint parties. And so Gayla said that when I say the word multi-use, one thing that comes up for her is it's a gift art gallery with a few artists. Exactly. And so you could actually find a location that everyone likes, and then you could actually share the rent with the various artists who are going to put their artwork in there together with you. And as a result, you're sharing the expense, right? Because of course, the biggest expense of a retail store is going to be the rent, right? It's going to be the rent. And then Janelle Vincent said, I think of craft malls, right? Craft malls, there are lots of stores that are popping up now that are called craft malls, or they're called makers markets, right? Where multiple people have their work and have their artwork for sale. So great, Janelle, that's a fantastic idea. And then Shalini says that she envisions a space to buy fabric and a place to sew using those fabrics. Exactly. So one of my wonderful students, Jane Foster, has been sewing since she was 6 years old. And I was actually able to go visit her because she doesn't live that far from me. She lives about an hour and a half from me. And so I jumped in the car and said, we have to meet. And I drove over to see her. And she teaches people how to sew. And she also came into my Pattern Design Academy to learn how to create her own fabrics with her own designs on them. And so now people can purchase her fabrics and then sew something on site by taking her courses. But her in-person class is what I want to say. I think she does them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so I think she'll be watching the replay today because she is teaching right now. And so I think that that's a very, very good way to describe it. And then let's see. And so Pauline Riley said, that is how my business partner and I have your salon business, right? So Pauline Riley has a nail salon business, and she has a business partner, and her business partner does other services. And so they have a retail space, and they share the rent, and each of them does something different in the space. And one of the great things about it for Pauline Riley, who joined my universe several years ago, is that when she learned to become a service designer, she could start to decorate the shop with her designs in terms of like the curtains. She has a little gift area, right, where she sells her greeting cards and her mugs and her notebooks and other items that she's sewed or had other people sew that uses her fabric. And so that's a great way to have a multi-use space, right? And then Sweepy said that will be cool with a few artist entrepreneurs sharing the space with you. Exactly. And And then Gayla said that I've been told several times, and even recently, that my paintings should be on fabric. So Gayla, it's lovely to meet you here, and hopefully you will actually jump onto my email list by downloading that free ebook. And then as I start to go into talking more about how you can learn how to use this program called Adobe Illustrator to actually translate your paintings and put them on fabric, you are a prime candidate for that. Right, you're a prime candidate to learn how to do that. So let's see. I also wanted to say that it's an arts incubator. Yes. Diane, I love your idea here that it could be an arts incubator, right? It's an art incubator. And one of the things that is another advantage of a retail store is you're interacting directly with consumers, right? And so as a result of interacting directly with consumers, you have an opportunity to talk to them. You have an opportunity to find out what they like best. That can give you ideas for what you want to be selling in the future, creating and selling in the future. And it allows you to have this incredible relationship with people in your local area and get your artwork out into the world, interact with them, and learn more about what it is they want you to make next. And as a result, that can feed you all of these wonderful creative ideas. And so that's another really, really great thing about having a retail store. Now, let me see what Joanne has to say here. She said that the bookstore had musicians performing, artists bringing in their work to hang for a month, and kids' activities and so much more. Yes, exactly. So the other great thing about a retail store that could be multi-use, just like you're describing, Joanne, is that you could do paint parties, you could have kids' activities for after school, which you could also offer. You could do things in the evening, like have a book club that meets there and you read passages from the book and or do the Q&A around the book or the book discussion. And so as a result, it's really kind of a retail store can almost be like your own painting in terms of what do you want to offer in it, what are the hours that you want it to be open, how expansive do you want the opportunity to be for people to come in and spend time inside the store. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for you to really think broadly about how a multiple use location it can be incredibly beneficial. And hello, Denise, it's lovely to see you. So the first thing we talked about was that a retail store can be really advantageous if you think about it being a multi-use space. So not just a space where you're selling your art, but a space where you're also either holding events, activities, things that bring people in to share and to create that in-person community that's so important today, right? We all really want to meet people who are like us and also have the joy of art and of creating art together. So you could do a Saturday morning art project and have people come in, participate in that, pay a fee for the Saturday morning art project, and then everyone does the Saturday art project together. And so I've got lots of examples in the ebook of people in my #Anne'sUniverse who are doing this very, very successfully. And Maria Alzanier comes to mind because she lives in Sweden, and so this is something you can do wherever you are in the world. And she has, right next to her, the house that she and her family live in, she also has a studio. And it used to be her grandparents' general store, and she's transformed it into her own studio. It's both a recording studio for where she records videos and where she goes live on Facebook to talk to her community. She's a beautiful watercolor artist, and before the pandemic she did paint parties because she's a watercolor instructor, she's a watercolor expert. She had to close those classes during the pandemic, but they're now open again. And then she also has all of her beautiful products. She does beautiful watercolor work that she puts on fabric, turns those into it. She has a whole line of dresses, and she also has tea towels, and she has paper products. And so it's not limited to it's not just limited to fabric. It can be anything you can really imagine. And you can create a community, yes. And so Sweeby said, you have just created a community hub in the retail store, exactly, of people who want to come back, maybe every Saturday for whatever it is that you're doing, whatever activity that might be on a Saturday morning, or it could be on a Wednesday night. It's like, the thing is, you can control it, right? You can control exactly what you want to offer, when you want to offer it, and how much you want to offer. So it's an amazing opportunity for you to start to think about, right? To start to think about what you might want to do with the retail store. And so Gayla has a question. She said, can I translate your teachings to create and sell my kids' puppet patterns so customers can sew their own puppets with fabric and to sell puppet patterns on paper as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so the great thing about what I teach, so I teach what's called surface design, right? And surface design is basically any piece of art that you want to put on a real product or a real surface. That surface can be fabric, that surface can be your iPhone case, that surface can be rugs, that surface can be tea towels for your kitchen, or an apron. It can be really any piece of fabric that you want to sew into something like a puppet. And so the way you do that is you learn how to use this program called Adobe Illustrator. And I take you by the hand step by step by step, because I learned how to use Adobe Illustrator in my late 50s. And it's the most amazing program that will open all of these doors for you to get your artwork out into the world, and also to utilize artwork that you already have on hand in really, really unique ways. So I love this kids puppet patterns idea. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And then Amy said, I envision having a studio with space to have people come in for classes like Maria. Yes, and so now the wonderful thing is the world is opening again. And so we don't have to be locked at home, right? We have been for many years what I love to call artists in residence, because we've been in residence in our own homes. But now we can go out and again, we can be around people safely. And so you absolutely can find a space where you can both offer your own products, and you also can have people in for classes, which is so incredibly fun. So I can't wait to hear more about it, Amy. I want to totally hear more about it. And Maria, of course, is here, so you guys have to go check out Maria. She loves having her little store and meeting lots of new people, and it's great when they are coming back year after year, right? And so I'm sure, Maria, that you missed them during the pandemic because you were probably closed, open, and now they're all going to be flocking back because you're offering your wonderful courses again. And in the meantime, and so here's the thing, in the meantime, Maria learned how to actually offer her courses online. And so having a course, her course is called Color Flow. It's a beautiful online course, and she only offers it a couple times a year. So make sure you go to Maria, what's your website? It's mazart.se. Here, I'll put it in the comments right now. So go to mazart.se. There you go, mazart.se. SE stands for Sweden, because Maria's in Sweden. And follow her, because she goes live on Facebook at 8 a.m. Pacific time on Thursdays, which is tomorrow. And she does beautiful watercolor demonstrations. And she has both in-person, if you live in Sweden, in the south of Sweden, she has in-person classes, but she also has them online. And so one of the fantastic things about also learning how to teach online is that you can have a global audience. Right? You can have a global audience. And Maria's doing this brilliantly, because she essentially has her physical retail store. She sells those products online so anyone around the world can purchase them. She has an online program that people can purchase and participate in, kind of like this with Facebook Lives for Q&As and things. But then she also can have people in her store in person. So it's just a magnificent way for you to utilize lots of these different ideas I've been sharing over the course of the last month about the different ways that you can really optimize using your art. And I was just talking about, so Janelle said Maria's class is fabulous. And it is. Maria's class is absolutely fabulous. And then, and Joanne, if you want to take a road trip for sure. You should definitely take a road trip, pop over to Sweden, and go visit Maria so you can see her gorgeous space. And one of the things that is, listen, one of the things that I love to, that I'm very passionate about is I'm very passionate about us doing something with our artwork. So I just had a dear friend whose mother passed away, and she had thousands and thousands and thousands of paintings that were in her studio. And he had to figure out how to sell them or put them out in the world. He didn't want to throw them away. They're all gorgeous. And so I am here to tell you that I'm super passionate about you getting started today with getting your artwork out into the world, sharing it with the world so that you can actually pass it on and create a legacy with your artwork so that it's not just sitting in your studio. It's actually getting out into the world. It's bringing joy to people. And then you can continue to create more, but it won't sit around in your studio. It's out in the world for others to enjoy. So that is my message today about a retail store. And Maria's 4 hours south of Stockholm. And you are welcome anytime. So, okay, so then the last thing that I'll say, and then I'll wrap up because I like to keep these to just around a half an hour or a little bit under half an hour, is retail stores, right? Because today's topic is all about retail stores. So the first tip that I have for you is don't think that you have to run the retail store all by yourself. You absolutely, lots of great comments around how it could be something that you're sharing with others so that you're all sharing in the cost of the rent, which is the biggest expense, right? Lots of great examples. So if you're watching the replay, read the comments because there were a lot of comments that came through about what that might look like. That could be multiple artists together showcasing their artwork. That could be a multi-use space where you're both teaching art and you're selling art. That could be a multi-use space where you have different areas inside the store where people can do different experiences. The ideas are pretty much endless. So that's the first thing is to, sometimes when you think about retail, you think, oh, I could never afford it. So I'm sharing outside of the box ways for you to think about, yeah, you could afford it if you don't do it all by yourself, if you decide to share it and to have several people come in on it with you. And that also, listen, we're all better together, right? We're all better together. We'll have better ideas together. We'll be able to execute those ideas better. We then can share both the idea generation and the idea execution together. And so that was the first thing. Think about it as a project for multiple people to do together, and think about it as a multi-use space, right? Multi-use space. And then the next thing that we talked about was that I want to make sure I cover is I worked in retail for 25 years. I worked at the Gap and at Old Navy and huge American global retailers. They started in America, but now they're all over the world. And one of the really important things is picking your location, right? And so frequently when you think about real estate or you think about a retail store, people will say, well, location, location, location. And when you think about location, that doesn't mean you have to buy the most expensive location or a store in the most expensive location. You have to think about convenience. How do you make sure the space you've picked is convenient? Meaning it's near other things people need to do. So it could be a store that's in a small town, downtown area, so people can walk to it, or they can both do their grocery shopping. They can come to your store to pick something up. They can come in to do a craft project. They can also go to the bank, and they can do multiple things, right? They can make sure that it's efficient and convenient for them. The other thing about location is parking or public transportation. You want to make sure that it's easy for people to get there. And so is there parking? Is it easy to park? Is the parking expensive or not? Is the parking free? Are there public transit that can get people there if they don't have a car? And so those are the things that I want you to think about when you think about location, so that you are deciding that where might be a good available location for you. And so location, location, location. And then we also talked about multi-use, right? Multi-use is really important. And then this is really kind of embedded in everything I've been talking about. Everything we've been talking about today is this idea of multi-use or multiples. And one of the biggest terms in retail is this term called units per transaction. And everybody in the retail biz abbreviates it to the initials UPT. UPT. And the UPT stands for units per transaction. And that just means how many items did someone buy when they came to your store? Did they buy one? Did they buy two? Did they buy three? And what you want to do is you want to come up with ways for it to make sense for people to buy more than just one thing. And we've talked about this actually several weeks ago. And so for any of you who've missed this whole series, go back and watch the replays. They're all here under the video tab right here on my Facebook page. Just click on the video tab that you see along the top right by the big picture that says Join Me Live, and you can watch the replays. You can also go to my blog. And so let me share my screen and take you over to my website. So I did a website refresh recently. I have a brand new picture right here on the front. And so if you go to LaFolletteart.com, go to LaFolletteart.com right here, and then click on the blog right up here. You can scroll down and you can see lots more information. So here's my Doodles course, which is available all the time now. You can learn more about me. You can scroll down. You learn more about the other things I do. This is my brand new collection of gorgeous patterns. And then I have some wonderful testimonials from people who've taken my programs in the past, and then my announcement about the fact I'm always live on Wednesday at noon. And then you can also follow me on Instagram. But let me come back up to the top of the page, and just really quickly, I just want you to click on blog, and then you can see, if you scroll down, I've been talking about today, the retail store, recurring revenue, which is another way for you to put your art out into the world. We talked about online workshops a few weeks ago. Then we actually talked a little bit about my dear friend Bonnie Christine, who had a free workshop about a month ago now. We also talked about selling in your sleep. And the whole series started basically in January. And so since the month of January, every single week, I've been sharing something new with you about ways that you can get your artwork out into the world and share the joy with others while also making some money. And so I hope that you've enjoyed this broadcast. It's now 12:32, so I'm going to let you go. But I hope you found this super valuable. Now that you know how to find me, tell all of your friends that I am live here every single Wednesday at noon. And I talk about something regarding art, creativity, or reinventing ourselves at any age, and getting started with a business, right? Getting started putting your artwork out into the world through one or many of these different opportunities that I've been sharing. And so I will be back next week. Right, so I'll be back next week. Thank you so much, Gayla. I hope to see you next week. I'll be back next week because we're going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about subscriptions, and then the week after that, we're going to talk about commissioned work, which are both incredibly fabulous topics. And so it's great to see you as well, Jennifer Gilbert. I'm sending you my love. All of you, thank you so much for joining me live. And for those of you watching the replay, I so much appreciate you as well. I'm incredibly grateful to have this amazing community. And I will see you next week. I always like to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette. And it's never too late to create. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week.